What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn. I think I'm Shawn.
You're Shawn. You are Shawn. And I am Richard. Because together, when we are together, we speak the language of bromance. That was really good.
Did you like that?
I'm surprisingly impressed. That's really good.
You know how long I've been working on that, Richard? My entire life.
That's really
Richard,
good.
What are we talking about today?
We are talking about a movie that both of us just saw, not together. We saw it separately, but it's a movie that I saw it first, and I really, really wanted him to see it so we could talk about it. And Shawn, that movie is Joker. It's just Joker, right? It's not the Joker.
It's not the Joker. Yeah. So this was a movie. I think when they announced it, you and I both were kind of like Joaquin Phoenix.
I think it's because we were both burned on Jared Leto.
Yeah, because it was. They were all trying to be secretive with it.
Because both of us saw Suicide Squad, and we were both like, "Oh my!" It's. I think it's okay. So I'm like, "Oh, we went from Heath Ledger to this." We went from the psychopathic killer clown to Huggy Bear with a little bit extra makeup.
Yeah, and they showed him with all the tattoos. You're like, I don't like that. They're like, no, he doesn't have the tattoos. We just did it for this promo thing. You're like, okay. Then you see trailers, and he does have tattoos and the
teeth.
Yeah,
the gold teeth,
thing, and you didn't really understand where he was coming from, and
I didn't like it.
Yeah. And I mean, DC really hasn't had much kind of going for it lately.
They shat the bed on that movie.
And then you saw trailers for this one. You're kind of like, all right, I was invested. I kind of want to see it because I don't think they were going down the Joker path. And they're kind of telling you hey, this isn't going to be your DC Joker. It's something different. And it's a one-off. Yeah. It's not connected to the universe. And so I was like, okay, I can get behind it. I think we're on the fence, right? You were kind of like,
I was super on the fence. I was like, I'll go see it, and I'll save my judgment for when I see it, because I saw the trailers for it, and it looked interesting. That it didn't look bad. I after seeing the trailers, I was like, okay, this doesn't look like a complete and utter shit show.
Yeah, and after the first one, you kind of got where it was going, too. You're like, okay, I see what... it wasn't one of those where you went in expecting, Mark Hamill's Joker. You knew what you were getting into. It was kind of an origin story. There was confusion on, is this guy really the Joker, or did he inspire the Joker? What's going on here?
And the whole thing, at the end of the day, hinged, or was hinged on Joaquin Phoenix's performance. If he didn't sell that movie, or if he didn't sell that performance, then the whole movie obviously crumbles. I mean, fuck the name. It's called Joker, So not only do you have to likes maybe the wrong word. Not only do you have to get invested in Arthur Fleck as a character, you have to get invested in Joaquin Phoenix's performance as an actor, and you also have to get invested in that movie's take on a classic DC villain.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you have to not only like the character, and I mean, like's probably the wrong word, but not only do you have to be invested in the character, you have to like the actor's performance, and also not cringe whenever you see the character on screen.
Yeah, because with Leto's, you kind of there was bits and pieces I kind of like what they're trying to do here, but the delivery just kind of bombed. And what I think they did really good here too is he's not. I wouldn't say he's really Joker, except for maybe 5-10 minutes in this film. There's not a lot of it. It's more of following this Arthur Fleck character. Because for the first like 45 minutes, you're kind of watching this like train wreck of a person who, you know, is looking at it like, again, like you start getting trickles of like, okay, like what's real, what's not real, you know, because he had his interaction with his, the woman that lived in the same floor as him. And so there's a lot of stuff there where I'm like, okay, he's making this stuff up. Like there's nothing I see
okay,
here.
wait. So I feel right now, I feel like you're jumping ahead. So like we start out with Arthur Fleck, who is a guy who apparently has some sort of psychological condition, has a psychological condition, is being medicated for it, is going to counseling for it, but he still has this condition. Okay. So on that, for that in general, I thought Joaquin Phoenix did great with that, because I didn't know this. I actually went and looked this up afterwards, but the whole spontaneous laughter thing is a psychological condition. And not only that, but the people that have it, they get very raspy when they do it, because it's, you know, because it's uncontrollable. So when Arthur does it in the movie, not only does he spontaneously laugh, but he also has like a wheezing cough that follows it.
You see him continue to like grab at his throat, like the pain that was there. I heard that Joaquin Phoenix actually talked to some people that had this condition, which, you know, is kind of like getting very method. I think he lost like 50 pounds for this role too.
Oh, dude, he had that, Christian Bale machinist look.
Oh yeah.
In this movie, very wiry, which I don't know if that in itself like lends to selling the performance. I don't know. Like if he was normal, quote unquote, normal bodied, like I don't know if I'd think any different. Like I never imagined the Joker being. I never pictured the Joker being like wiry thin.
Yeah, and that's why I think it kind of plays, again, kind of more into like, is this guy really the Joker, isn't he? Because that's the same thing, like, you know, with the Joker, you never really see him kind of as a weak person. And like with him, like he has this condition, he's very, like you said, wiry, he looks weak, he doesn't know how to handle a gun. And even in the scene, so what was the first time where you're like, I think a lot of this is in your head? What part of this movie do you think kind of triggered that for you?
So he goes home and you see his little ratty apartment for the first time. He lives with his mom, and I don't know. I'll delve into that later. But he lives with his mom, and at one point they're watching a talk show, and he imagines himself in the audience, and that's where I kind of got the feeling that I was like, I was kind of sitting there going, I'm like, is this movie gonna go into like a Midsummer Night's Dream kind of tangent, where it's gonna be this guy living this miserable life that has these fantasies of grandeur that eventually lines start to blur? That's, by the end of the movie, that's not how I felt. That's not how it did not have. It didn't have that feeling to me. But at first, that's where I was curious. I was like, is that where we're going? But so he lives with his mom. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, in that first scene where you see that too, like I feel like a lot of people have those like visions of grandeur. Like, you know, you're stuck in this thing, like you just get kind of like, you know, discovered in this very random way. And because I mean, like, and that kind of like I felt like, you know, I don't want to feel like the guy who's this crazy killer to be sympathetic at all towards him. Because I don't think you want to feel sympathetic towards the Joker at all. Like the Joker that we see on TV and stuff, like you don't think of him as like, oh my gosh, that's just a guy who had one bad day. Agreed.
I don't think anybody, I feel like nobody looks at the Joker and says, oh, that poor thing.
Yeah. And that's definitely like when it's set up, like that scene specifically, and kind of when they're playing on him, like maybe being a half Wayne kind of thing, and Then you find out more about with his mom and stuff too. So, but the scene I would say that kind of like I really thought that a majority of this movie was taking place in his head. I mean, obviously that scene when he envisions that he's at the show, that was obviously not real, but they made that pretty clear. It's like, they cut like hard cut.
Agreed.
Him in the crowd, then they cut back to him on the bed with his mom. But and did you get like a Norman Bates feel there?
A little. I mean, I feel like that was intentional.
Yeah, I was kind of like thinking that at some point they're gonna like show you that his mom's been dead in the house for a while. Not how it really played out. But the scene to me that I was like, I don't think that actually happened was when he's on the subway and those 3 drunk guys are like picking on that girl, and then they come and start beating him up, and he just all of a sudden is this crack shot. And he shoots the one dead right away, shoots the other one dead right away. And counting them, I'm pretty sure he shot more than what was in the pistol.
Oh, I didn't count shots.
I think it was like 8 shots. And because I was wondering how meta this was going to get. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep track of these subtle things. Because usually in a movie like this that I feel like is trying to be a little, not smarter, but definitely I think everything has a purpose and a place that, those things matter. And he didn't seem like a guy who would go out and buy more ammo. I'm guessing he probably only had enough ammo to fill the gun up. He shot one in the apartment. Sure. But even not counting that, he shot like 8 times and can only hold 6 rounds.
Yeah.
And the thing that kind of like drew me real quick is like he was just a crack shot. It's like he shot the one guy right away. So that was the one where I'm like, I think a lot of this stuff didn't actually happen. And maybe these the events happen, but I'm wondering if this Arthur Fleck character like brought them into his mind as like, oh, I was the guy who did this.
So for me, the first, like when I saw something that I knew was like, that didn't happen, was him going 2 doors down to the apartment of the girl that he saw in the elevator. And he like knocks on the door and she opens the door and they like have this embrace.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, that's not real. That didn't happen.
Yeah. I just killed 3 men. I'm rock hard right now. Could you imagine having sex that too? It was like
that's what my wife does.
Yeah, but it's after with me. Not your wife, and my wife.
And it's not psychological. She just can't help herself.
It's like every time I think it's going to be better. And you know what? It's not.
I'm just amazed how you continue to disappoint after this long. It's like still this.
There's Shawn. There's videos on the internet. Like you just keep poking. Like
you read a book.
All you do, you go.
And then I'm like, I have read the book. Yeah. And then I'm like, I have read the books. And then that makes her laugh even harder.
Yeah.
And that's when I say that. And that's when I start crying. And then I say that I have a psychological condition.
Yeah. Like, I never heard of where you just cry spontaneously. I've heard the laughing one. It's just the opposite.
So as soon as I saw that, I was like, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah. And then
so
you kind of mentioned the Fight Club stuff too. You see the other scenes of her, like, and then they, retro him back in with her not being there.
Right. You get that whole Fight Club moment. That's what I called it. I called it the Fight Club moment.
No, I think that's fair.
Where they start like, hey, all those times that he was talking to somebody, he wasn't really talking to anybody. So the whole relationship that he had with that girl was completely made up. That's fact. Like, we know that. Like, the movie told us that. Like, hey, this whole relationship, it didn't actually happen. So you were asking what's real and what's not. I think more of it, I personally think that more of the movie itself was real than you think.
Yeah,
So, and also, if we're, the whole thing with the Joker was always like, everybody's just one bad day away from being me. I didn't get that feeling from this movie. I mean, at one point in the movie, he says, I had a bad day, but I don't feel like, I feel like in his head, And that's where I think you see that, what makes a villain is like in the case of Arthur Fleck, like he wasn't just he's not just one bad day away from being the Joker. Like there was there's like a whole history and a series of choices that led to him being the Joker.
Like he said after he was about ready to kill his mom, he's like, I've realized that I've never been happy one day in my life.
Right.
And you could see why. I mean, like, apparently some bad stuff happened to him when he was a kid. So he suppressed all that
he
stuff.
Apparently suppressed. So, okay. So he ends up finding out through some correspondence his mom is trying to keep up that he's under the impression now that he is a son of Thomas Wayne, that he's Thomas Wayne's illegitimate son. So he goes and he finds Thomas Wayne, like sneaks into a bathroom while they're at some gala, finds Thomas Wayne. No. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
First thing he does is he goes to Wayne Manor. And who does he meet there, Shawn? Little baby Bruce.
Yeah. And
like at this point, Bruce is like what, like 7?
Yeah, it'd been about the way the movie made it look like it had been like a little bit before the whole events of Martha and Thomas Wayne being murdered.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So you actually, which as much as, I mean, they definitely sold it as like, hey, this isn't tied to any other movies or anything like that. But I actually did like Arthur and Bruce meeting.
Yeah, and so I kind of felt like that. I liked it, but it felt a little awkward because, one, if this is a billionaire's estate, I don't think somebody could just wander right up to it and get that close to the kid, like the billionaire's kid that easily. And two, like
I'll agree with you there.
Arthur Fleck was pretty weak. Like he was putting the holds on Alfred pretty hard. And so that was another one I'm kind of like, okay. But I know.
But the question is, what Alfred are we dealing with? Are we dealing with, like English butler Alfred that, fetches tea and cleans up the Batcave? Or are we dealing with the Alfred
British secret agent?
Ex-British secret agent that can fucking kill a man with this pinky.
But I know in most of the comics too, like there's the one where the Court of Owls break into the Batcave and Alfred gets all badass with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Like Alfred always seems to be like he knows how to handle himself at least a little bit.
Well, okay, so it was always sold that Alfred was formerly a soldier.
Mm.
That he was, in the army. That I mean, the way I've always understood the way Alfred is before the whole British Secret Service thing was that Alfred was a soldier and he was mainly a field medic, which is why he's always the one, stitching. He's always the one like stitching, Bruce up in the Batcave and fucking, like he knows how to do that shit. It wasn't until like the last maybe like 10 years that they're like, oh yeah, fucking Alfred was 007.
Yeah, that's what he was.
And then you're like, wait, what?
In the Gotham TV series, I think he was like that. Like he was a badass guy. But I mean, so
yeah.
I want to touch on this because I'm curious what you think about it. And so that scene, like, let's say that actually happened. Let's say the stuff that's happening actually happens. So he gets there, he puts his hands in, and let's say you're Thomas Wayne too. I want to put you in the shoes of this. So this weirdo who his mom was saying that you were his dad, but he was adopted, trying to basically kind of like bring all this stuff up that wasn't true. That guy comes to your house, puts his fingers in your kid's mouth, and then tries to strangle your butler. Now, fast forward, he sneaks into this private party, is in the bathroom with you, basically confronting you about this.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have been saying like Thomas Wayne, oh, he's just like, all the other rich people in the world. This is Dick Thomas Wayne, not good Thomas Wayne. I would say like if this guy came up to you after doing all this stuff, wouldn't you have a few things to say to him too?
Oh, I mean, well, okay, so with that, like the general tenor of the movie is that, Thomas Wayne is like, a rich asshole. And, like that's the way the movie is trying to sell me, that Thomas Wayne is like this rich asshole that, knows what's best for Gotham. Then he runs for mayor and shit like that, And honestly, like, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, that doesn't, I feel like that, Thomas Wayne doesn't need to be a paragon of humanity to serve the purpose that he serves in the story. Mm-hmm. Or if we're talking about the story of Batman, I feel like Thomas Wayne doesn't need to be a perfect human being in order to serve the purpose that he serves. That being said, when he's in when the scene you're talking about, Arthur confronts Thomas Wayne in this bathroom and was like, I think you're my dad. And, he's like, hey, you fucking stuck your fingers in my kid's mouth and all this shit. I honestly, I felt like he was completely justified in punching Arthur's dead square in the face.
But I feel like that's the only scene where
does he give me the impression that he's, some sort of rich asshole? Yes. Does that, however, do I feel like he was justified in acting the way he acted in that bathroom? Yes.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's the only scene that really justified him as a rich asshole, too. At least that's what everybody's been saying. I mean, he had a few little snippets where he's talking about like he wanted to help Gotham, bring people out of poverty and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it seems kind of like this whole like false promises kind of thing. With the whole him as like running for mayor or whatever.
I mean, I could say they kind of put that shade over it because, I mean, there were a lot of people upset about it, but.
Like, that's my thing, is I got the impression that, yes, he's, this rich asshole that, thinks he knows what's best when he really doesn't. When he doesn't understand the plight of the common man.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. However, I think that being said, like I said, I feel like he was completely justified in punching Arthur dead square in the face.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like it's just like anybody else. Like, you can be a dick and still occasionally, be right.
I think you're being too harsh on Thomas Wayne. I don't know if he was a dick, is all I'm saying. I mean, I'm sure the way they made it sound like they were really pushing a lot, like, him going into the politics stuff he was corrupt, but I don't know if there's any real evidence to show that, if that makes sense.
Well, and also you got like the movie is told from the perspective of Arthur. Yeah.
That's very true.
So I mean, perception's everything. So that could all be not how he actually is, but the way I perceived it is that he's just some sort of like, oh, I know what's best for everybody. Like, when you really don't understand the suffering that people are going through.
I mean, that's mostly every politician.
Right. However, like, if somebody sticks your fingers in your kid's mouth and then, is hanging around your house and then you meet them in a bathroom, yes, I feel like you have every justification to punch them in the face.
Yeah.
And be like, stay away from my fucking kid.
Rich asshole, middle class asshole, poor asshole. Doesn't matter. You can punch that dude in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can be a sweet asshole.
Like, I don't think that, just because somebody has redeeming qualities or just because somebody has, shitty qualities, that doesn't, people are people. Like, that doesn't,
Yeah.
They don't cancel each other out or anything.
There was a lot of people hung up on the Thomas Wayne stuff, and either good or bad. Like, it felt like there was too much focus on that. But I know, like, the greatest thing about this movie is all the fan theories that have come from it. Because some people were like saying like, oh, well, no, Thomas Wayne could have forged all that stuff, which would kind of go into your kind of asshole type thing. Like, it's a dude that cheated on his wife and stuff like that.
Sure.
Which, I mean, if we're going off of...
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, but if we're going off classic Batman type stuff, then probably not. But again, it's all perspective too. Like, okay, did this stuff actually happen with Arthur Fleck? Like, you don't even know that.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's see. So we have the whole bit with him seeing Bruce, the whole bit with him getting punched in the face. Oh, so he goes to see his therapist, and the therapist tells him, hey, we can't meet anymore. They're cutting funding. Also, you're not getting your medication anymore. So there's that too. And again, I feel like this contributes to the whole like, oh, you're just one bad day away from being me. No, you're one bad day plus a giant history of childhood trauma plus no medication away from being me.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So are you alluding to kind of like the other thing that's been coming from this is people being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm just like the Joker"?
No.
Because I know that was like there's that.
That's kind of like
concern.
a separate thing. That was.
There was that big concern.
Okay, so the huge concern was that some people would see this movie as like a rallying cry to commit acts of violence or, and so far as of, 3 weeks out from the release of the movie, I haven't seen anything yet. I personally haven't seen anything.
I haven't either.
Directly born from the release of this movie. So, but honestly, like I wasn't really concerned that was going to be the case, because I feel like you could say that about anything. You could say that about like John Wick is a guy who his dog gets shot and then he goes on a killing spree. Like I don't feel like that incites. I don't feel like that incites, a PETA member to be like, those motherfuckers kill dogs all the time. And then you go and shoot up a animal shelter that kills their animals, a no-kill shelter. Like it's, if you're afraid that the Joker would incite people to violence, then you could say that about, I feel like you could say that about other movies. You could say that about video games. And so for me, like, I feel like you have to either take all of it or none of it.
Yeah, no, I'm same boat. I feel like you do that to almost like pre-fulfill like its own destiny. Like people that were saying that were way before it even was, even before it was released, it's like, oh, I'm really scared that this is going to do this whole like, all these people are going to see this and it's going to cause all this violence. And they're the same people who gripe about video games and stuff too. And it's kind of like, I mean,
agreed.
I don't think that this would, especially when you watch it too, because there's not really any kind of like rallying cry. Like there's not like a group of jokers being like, yeah, this is it. It's more of like you see this slow devolve of madness for somebody. And if you're like even like have these situations like he does, not really like specifically, but like you have this mental illness, like seek help. Like that's what he was trying to do, but nobody was there to really help him. I mean, that goes in the bigger picture though, of like, well, what was actually real and what wasn't.
Yeah. And also goes into the bigger picture of, you're not just one bad day away.
Yeah, no, yeah.
No, but nobody is one bad day away from going on from murderous rampage. Some people are, some people are not. But those people that are, there's a entire history of things that come before it. I mean, an entire history coupled with a lack of support. So, yeah, I mean, so yeah, for me, when it comes to, will the Joker movie incite violence? I feel like, I feel like that falls into the broader picture of, does art incite violence? To which I would say, for a huge majority of people, no. And for the people that it does, it's not just that. Like it could be anything. Like I think pointing to one film and saying this is going to incite people to kill, I would argue that the people that are incited to kill have had, a long history of bad choices or bad circumstances that have led them to that moment. And if one movie is the straw that breaks the camel's back, it could have been any straw.
Yeah. No, I agree there. I just thought it was, I mean, we don't have to dive into it super, super deep, but it was just kind of definitely something I was hearing very much earlier. And it never even crossed my mind until there was lots of people starting to talk about like a week before it came out. And it's just like, oh, I didn't even think about this thing being, something.
Honestly, the only time I really thought about it was, when the movie opened, the one city that it didn't open in at all was Aurora, Colorado.
I think it was just the theater where that happened for the Dark.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I can kind of see that makes sense.
I understand. I completely understand. And bear them no ill will. I don't, that's fine.
So what's some other thoughts you have on that? So we got to the point where you kind of figure out some of the stuff that's real, it's not. He's in the hospital with his mother. So actually backing up. So one of the things I thought was interesting, kind of like capturing these moments, was when he was sitting there watching that one act at the nightclub that he went to. Did you notice whenever he was laughing, it was opposite of when the crowd would laugh?
Yes. He was laughing on the offbeats of jokes.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm not really sure what it means, but it definitely kind of caught my attention.
Yeah. I think it showcases the fact that, he's a little different. I think it showcases that, he's marching to the beat of a different drummer, as my grandmother used to say.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like it's one of those movies I feel like I need to go back, because it definitely felt like the first hour of that movie, it didn't have to be Joker. It could have been any movie. And it was a little uncomfortable to watch for a while.
I did not. I don't like the people that compare it to Taxi Driver. The people
I've
that
never
say,
seen Taxi Driver.
Oh, like, why go see Joker? Just watch Taxi Driver. Well, okay, so Taxi Driver, it's basically, just a normal dude that's, doing his thing, and, people treat him like shit. And so it's kind of like the movie, I guess a more modern equivalent would be Falling Down with Michael Douglas, where he's, like an office 9-to-5 guy, and then some bad shit happens and he just fucking loses his mind. But basically, like, the whole premise of Taxi Driver is like, this guy's shit on all the time. And at one point he's like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm not going to take this shit. And then, acts like an asshole.
When I looked, didn't he going after a senator or something like that in Taxi Driver? Or like a senator's
something like that. It's been years since I've seen that movie. Last time I saw it, I think it was 18, 19. And I think that's, it's kind of it's a character movie about somebody's slow descent to, having a catharsis and turning out something else. I mean, yeah, some movies do that. I don't think Taxi Driver is the only movie that, that does that.
I'm sure you could find tons that would kind of fall into that same kind of genre.
Again, take, for example, Fight Club. Edward Norton is a dude that works in an office, and then it's just, over a course of choices, he ends up fucking blowing buildings up.
See, you don't need to see this movie, Richard. Just go watch Fight Club. Same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, just go watch Fight Club. Same thing. You don't need to see Joker. Go see Fight Club.
But
to which I say, see both.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. After seeing this, I did want to go see Taxi Driver, because it's one that I've never seen. But it's, again, the first hour and a half of this movie was just intriguing to watch that slow descent. And, you pick up kind of key things. And I guess one of mine's more towards the end. But I guess I'll let you lead the discussion, because I think the only thing I really have left is kind of towards the end. But
okay. So let's see. So we've covered the relationship he had with a girl that turns out wasn't a relationship at all. again, a Fight Club moment where they then flash back to him and all these moments that they pepper throughout the movie. And it's like, oh, he's actually by himself.
The scene when he goes back into her apartment when she's there.
Yeah.
Was very unsettling.
A little bit. Yes.
You don't see her again.
No.
And when he's sitting there, you hear sirens outside.
That didn't trigger me as much because when he's in his apartment, like there's a lot of the scenes in his apartment, you do hear sirens every now and again. So yeah, I was alluding to maybe somebody had found something in her apartment. Right. But yeah, the fact that he goes into the apartment, he sits down on the couch, this lady walks out and is like, "Hey, you're that guy that lives down the hall, right?" And then you're like, "Oh, yeah, the whole relationship wasn't
Arthur,
real."
Right?
And then you see him walking back to his apartment, but you don't see her again ever for the rest of the movie. You don't see the kid she has ever again in the rest of the movie. So you're left sitting there wondering, like, did he kill those people? Did he not kill those people? Again, that's just something that apparently, is just up in the air.
And you're like, well, did those people even exist?
Yeah. So then next morning, 2 people show up.
Yes.
And it's his friends. And they're like, hey, he's putting on makeup. And at this point, so at this point, he's killed his mother. He smothered her with a pillow in the hospital, basically out of no other reason than rage, because not only does he find out that
Thomas Wayne's not his dad.
He finds out that Thomas Wayne's not his dad. He finds out that
he's adopted.
He grabs his mom's psych profile. He finds out Thomas Wayne's not his dad. He finds out his mother is a textbook narcissist. And he also finds out that he's been physically and emotionally and mentally abused through most of his life. And he didn't even really realize it because he pushed all that stuff down.
They found him tied to a radiator as a child.
Yes. Because, again, his mother is a textbook narcissist. And so if you do not serve her a purpose, then you are expendable. So, out of sheer rage at realizing all this, he smothers his mother with a pillow in the hospital. So now he's killed his mother. He may or may not have killed his neighbors. He has shot 3 people on the subway. I feel like that was more of an exercise in power when it came to him shooting the people on the subway. He shoots 3 people on the subway. They're being a dick to somebody. Then they start, treating him like shit. They're beating the fuck out of him. This is right after, in the very beginning of the movie, when he gets the ever-loving fuck beat out of him by a bunch of kids. So he retaliates. It's trauma. It's, he retaliates. He shoots these 3 people. And as soon as he does, I don't feel like that was him being the Joker. I feel like he killed those 3 people. He took off running. He went to a bathroom.
Yeah, I forgot about the whole bathroom dance scene.
Yeah, so he goes in the bathroom and I feel like that was more of like a centering, basically like he's kind of like doing this.
It's like a ballet almost.
Yeah, almost like a ballet. I think that was more him trying to center himself.
Yeah.
Because he's fucking terrified.
If you're looking at these things as actually happening, I feel like in that moment, like when he gets to that bathroom after killing those 3 guys, like it's almost like, and he mentions it somewhere in there too, like he didn't feel anything bad about it. Which I think is probably where he kind of is like, oh, okay, this is who I am and this is what I can do. And like you said, it's kind of that whole power thing. Like now he feels like he has power.
But I think that having that much agency over himself is something he's never had. And I think the first time it happens, it scares the fuck out of him. And so he does this, like you said, like this, ballet in this, shitty, grungy bathroom as a way to kind of like calm himself down. So he shoots 3 people on the subway. And a lot of, there's the whole following thread of the movie of, him shaking off those investigators. He may or may not have killed his neighbors. We're not sure on that. He did smother his mother with a pillow. So that's where we're at. So then we didn't even talk about the whole stand-up comedy bit where he goes on stage and actually does a routine, bombs horribly because he has terrible jokes.
Well, because it starts kind of going quiet and it looks like everybody's laughing.
No, they were terrible jokes. I think he had one good one. His first one was okay, and then the whole thing just kind of fell apart.
Well, are you sure you didn't tell the knock-knock joke? Because I bet that went over really well.
Probably. But apparently he's so bad that the TV show that he watches, the Maury Show, they're so enamored with his failure that they agree to bring him on the show. So he's got that coming. So at that point, between everything that's happened, between, killing 3 guys on the subway, like by the time and him smothering I think that him killing his mother was like his coming out. Because once that happens, then he's like, I feel like at that moment, that's where, he not necessarily becomes the Joker, but that's where you see it. That's where you see it in its full glory. So so now we can finally get to 2 people show up to his apartment. He's painting his face. Or no, he's dyeing his hair.
He's just finished dyeing his hair, yeah, and he's got all white on his face.
Because he's getting himself ready to go on the Maury Show, where he apparently plans to commit suicide.
You think? That's what it seems like he's alluding to.
That's like that. Apparently that's his fucking plan, is he's going to shoot himself in the face on this television show as like a statement, I suppose.
Yeah. Even though he keeps mentioning he's not tied to this political movement that's going on with all the clowns or anything.
Yes. Yeah. Because when Arthur shoots the 3 people on the subway, he's in his clown makeup, and so everybody says, "Oh, it was a clown," and so then it ends up sparking this kind of like an icon for a movement of the disenfranchised, where they're all like, "Oh, we're all clowns," because that's how people see us. Blah, So he ends up killing one of the guys, stabs him like umpteen times. I don't even know how many times.
Yeah.
Like enough that it's rage. Like it's not.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that was the guy that picked on him. It's the guy that got him fired.
The guy that gave him a gun and is the reason he got fired.
Well, and it's funny when they come in, too, because they're like...
And the whole reason he's there is to talk to the cop, is to figure out what he told the cops about the gun that he gave him.
Yeah. Because the midget's like, wait, nobody talked to me. He's like, yeah, if they were a midget, they would have talked to you. But because when they walk in, they ask him, it's like, hey, we came because we heard about your mother. We brought you this gift. And it's like, hey, do you have a new gig? He's like, no.
Yeah.
Just painting my face, getting ready to go out.
Yep. Doesn't tell him about the Maury Show or anything. But then and I don't exactly know what the moment is that sets him off, but he just stabs the ever-living fuck out of that guy.
Well, he brought the scissors with him. I think when he saw who it was, I think it was already set in his mind. That's what he was going to do.
Yeah. Okay, so that whole scene, he kills that guy. The other guy is like terrified in the fucking corner. In that moment, in that scene, I was like, this is the Joker I know.
Yeah,
this
agree
is the
100%.
Joker that I have seen and read about. This is who it is.
This is the rated R Joker.
This is what this is what I paid my fucking good money to see.
Yeah, and
this
the moments
guy.
where I can't remember what his name, but the other guy that was in there is like terrified, and he's like, you can go, like I'm not going to hurt you. And then when he walks by, total Joker moment where he kind of like rushes at him real quick. And then he runs to the door, and of course the top lock's locked, so he can't get to it. And in this moment, we talked about it offline a little bit, but in this moment, you're like, oh God, like, is he going to kill him still?
He's going to kill. Yeah, exactly. Like he goes to reach the door. He can't get the deadbolt. He's like, Arthur, could you get the door for me? And Arthur gets up. He stands up, and that's when you're going like, he's going to stab this motherfucker. He's going to be like, nah, change my mind. And that I loved, because to me, that's the Joker, because, it's complete and utter impulse. It's complete id at that, when you're sitting there going like, I was going to let you go. You can go ahead and go. Oh, I can't reach the door. I changed my mind. Stab, 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 stab. But he does. He opens the door and he lets him out.
Gives him a little kiss on the forehead.
That unpredictability made me happy, because that's what the Joker is completely unpredictable, because he's not following any sort of rhyme or reason or logic. He's just it's all chaos. Also, you see him, putting the makeup on. He's got his hair done, or as he's putting the makeup on, I totally felt, and maybe this is just me, but in those scenes when he starts finally doing his makeup and you get that Joker that I totally felt that Heath Ledger vibe. And I feel like that's me projecting onto it.
Because this is where I got it. Like, I feel like a lot more of this is made up, and he's not really the Joker, because I feel like us projecting on it was like what he would have been doing in this moment, is projecting himself as this Joker that we know. This Arthur Fleck is just a guy who is, looking through his history of life and just making these things up in his head while he's in this insane asylum, Arkham Asylum. Because he's in there dancing in his underwear, and like, the only time I really got that like Joker Heath Ledger vibes was once he had the suit on and once he was kind of like walking down the streets. Yeah. But in that moment, I felt like he was trying to portray something which didn't really seem fitting to the movie. It felt like it's somebody who is like, again, he envisioned himself being on this, Maury show, like getting a hug from Maury. Whereas this was like, okay, well, maybe that's not the history I want for my life. I'm going to make up this story that I'm the Joker. And that's how he became, quote, the Joker. See that I don't get. I feel like him kind of dancing around once he had the suit and the paint on. I feel like that's him, celebrating the agency he feels like he finally has over his life. Like, he knows who he is, he knows what he is, and he knows what he's about to do, which is go onto a live television show and blow his fucking brains out. Yeah. And I feel like he's happy. He's happy that he finally has some agency over himself. Yeah. I mean, again, you could look at it both ways. Sure. I think you could say like that, if it all actually happened, yeah, I would agree with that. But to me, I think the Easter, not really Easter eggs, but the path that was kind of being laid out here is that a lot of this is happening. So I think he's never actually been out of the insane asylum. Like, I think he's in Arkham, because I'm disagreeing with you there, but keep going. They show a little cutscene where he's talking to the counselor in the first bit, and they show him in a white room, banging his head against the wall or whatever. And then when they cut back to him at the very end, he's in a white room. And if you notice, and this is the only way I would say maybe it kind of leads up to this, but in the very last scene, he's got gray hair and his sideburns. Uh-huh. which would show that if all this happened in the 80s, this could have been about 20 years later. So this could be 2001, 2002. So he could have been in the insane asylum for an extended period of time, and he's in his 50s now and graying. Because you don't see him with gray at all. And when you see him in that moment, you would think he'd still have gray or green hair. He didn't. He was just dark haired again, except for a little bit of gray on his side. And they kind of see it cutting back from the scene after Thomas and Martha Wayne get shot. And that's where she asks, "What's so funny?" He says, "You wouldn't get the joke."
Yeah.
And so
he goes to the Maury show. He's got, gun on him. He's feeling laid back. He's feeling good about himself. He says, "Hey, can you introduce me as Joker?" He comes out, he sits down, and the conversation starts off with, like, "Hey, you're that, super shitty stand-up comedian." But then he eventually is like, "You know what? Fuck you." He's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm the one that shot those 3 guys on the subway."
And see, when he's on that couch, I don't feel Joker with him at that moment.
In that moment, I did. That, to me, that harkened to when I read Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, but it seemed more, I don't remember him having as much anger in that moment. Like, still, like, even in that, it felt like it was more of just coming back to cause chaos. But in that moment when he was there, it was more anger. It was more being made fun of. It was more things that I wouldn't think the Joker would care about.
Well, yes and no. I think that I think you're right. I think there are, when it comes to, people treating him shitty, no, I don't think he cares about that so much. However, I do think that I think that he went out there with the intention of shooting himself in the head. I think that his ego, I think that his, newfound power in and of himself, I think that all that led him to basically, I think that led him to make the choice to be like, "You know what? Fuck you guys." He's like, "I shot those 3 guys in the subway and I don't give a fuck. They were terrible people. And I think that you propping them up on a fucking pedestal makes you a terrible person. So stop being an asshole. And if you're going to be an asshole, then here's what I got for you." And they pulls the gun out and shoots Murray in the fucking head.
Yeah. And then you had
Then he sits there. As soon as he does it, he puts the gun down. He sits there. He's very calm. Feels completely justified in what he just did, and absolutely zero remorse.
Yeah, I definitely saw the no remorse part. And you definitely got the Batman 89 moment when he shot him like 3 or 4 more times.
Yeah.
I definitely got that feel there.
Yeah. So then he gets arrested. He gets carted away in a police car through all the crazy protests that are going on outside in the streets. Fucking there's shit on fire. There's trash everywhere.
You get the longing look. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they say, what the cops say, it's like, "This is all your fault." And he's like, "Yeah, I know. Isn't it beautiful?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Which that was to me, it was kind of a Joker line.
But then you had the cop car that he's getting carted in gets smashed by an ambulance that 2 random dudes wearing clown masks are driving. They pull him out of the wreckage. He stands on the roof of the car as an icon to whatever movement they have, and there you get the super villain that we know as the Joker in that moment.
Yeah, and that's where, like, so a lot of this stuff seemed very grounded and, like, almost realistic, except up to this point. That's where you almost have to have your disbelief. Like, these people would have, gotten in this ambulance and known just when to do this, and he would have survived and would have come out and did, his whole thing. That's where
I agree. But I do think that the fact that it was such a low tech solution.
Yeah.
That's like you're right. You do have to suspend disbelief to a point, but I think that the low techness of just like, hey, let's just get a bigger car and smash into this fucking cop car, like that you know, gave it some credibility for me.
Yeah, but I feel like with this film though, that's why I feel like a lot more of this is taking place in his head than what it actually happened, because so much of it was kind of these realistic things up to that point, and I feel like it started getting more and more unrealistic to an extent. And I guess,
I mean, maybe
to me it just goes back to, I don't know if this is the guy I'd want to be the Joker. You know what I mean? Like and maybe it's just that this is his whole scenario he played out in his head. But I guess that goes back to what I said, like, he's got, the Joker doesn't have a backstory kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also you have like, okay, so this is going to lead me to the one kind of like downbeat, I guess I had, or the one thing that made me be like, oh, fuck. So while this whole, nonsense is going on with like, people running in the streets and shit on fire and everything else, like, Thomas and Martha Wayne are walking out of the fucking movie theater. Yeah. They see all this crazy shit going on, and so they turn down an alley, and lo and behold, there's a guy there that's robbing them, and Thomas and Martha once again get fucking shot dead while Bruce is standing there watching at the tender young age of whatever fucking age he is, to which I reply, why?
So
why do you need to show me that again? I have seen that. I have seen it in 1989's Batman. I have seen it in Batman Begins. I have seen it.
Well, it was in Forever. I think it was in Returns too. I think they showed the
I've
scene.
seen it in Batman Forever. I've seen it in fucking was it what
Justice
I said Batman
League.
Begins?
No,
I've seen it in
Batman v Superman.
Yeah, Batman v Superman. I've seen it in the animated series. I've seen it in the Arkham game, the video games. Like, I have seen that. I've seen it in Gotham. Yeah. I have seen this scene now after this movie. I have seen this scene. I have seen Thomas and Martha Wayne get shot 8 times in 8 different versions.
So the only theory that I read about this that kind of made me think like, okay, maybe this had a point, was in all the scenes, that's the only scene that Joaquin Phoenix is not in. He's in every other scene. And one of the theories I read, well, there's kind of 2 different theories that thread from that. One is that he is the Joker. All these things happen. And at that point, he's made the connection that Bruce Wayne is Batman and he's the cause of Batman. The other one that I read that I kind of liked is that Arthur Fleck was the guy who, during all this commotion, killed Thomas and Martha Wayne. And he's just kind of making up this whole Joker background story. So there's kind of 2 different threads. One is it's actually him doing all these things. The other is it's not him, but he's tied to the situation somehow. I actually have a different take. Okay, what's your take?
So my take on it is, and this kind of ties into the very next scene. So Thomas and Martha Wayne get shot again for the 8th time. So then it hard cuts from that moment to Arthur Fleck in the asylum, sitting at the table, talking to the therapist, who is now the same therapist he talked to before, from what I understand, the same therapist he talked to before, but now older. What I think, and this is the only reason that I could see you putting that scene in there for the 8th time, would be that he is looking back on that night and thinking about, the whole like Joker's running around and like people in clown masks running around, and Thomas and Martha Wayne, one of the objects of which, like an unrequited rage that he had against Thomas, and not I'd say envy for the cushy life that Bruce had. Him seeing, I think it's him picturing them walking out of a theater, trying to escape the chaos that's going on in the streets, and then they get shot by some dude in fucking Crime Alley. I think that it's him imagining that happening and finding it funny. The fact that, the very movement that which he was, that he deemed like unworthy of his acknowledgement is what ends up ultimately getting him killed.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think that so him sitting in the asylum talking to that therapist, I think this is a flash forward.
I
the things that happen in that,
yeah.
So the things that happen, and the things that are obviously pointed out to the audience that didn't happen. But him thinking about Thomas and Martha getting shot by somebody wearing a clown mask on that night, I think he finds funny. And so he starts laughing. Then the therapist is like, "What's so funny?" And he said, "You wouldn't get it."
Yeah. And what's the song does he sing?
It's a Sinatra song. Oh my God. My son has actually been listening to it, and I don't know how I feel about that entirely, but
well, I mean,
That's Life. That's Life
right,
by Frank Sinatra.
I mean, if all else fails, Richard, you can just tie him to a radiator.
That's a good point. It's a very good point, Shawn.
No, and what I like about this like these kinds of movies is like you can come up with a million theories and none of them are right, but none of them are wrong.
Yeah.
And even if the director and Joaquin Phoenix come out and be like, "Oh, well, this is exactly what it means." It's like, well, does it actually mean that?
We really know. Don't lie to us. Don't be that. Good, nice try throwing me off the trail and shit.
But I like
so.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, so then at the very end of the movie, he obviously kills that therapist and is running around the asylum.
Yeah, it's like a Scooby-Doo type chase at that point.
Yeah. And that's the movie. Then we go to credits. Also, I doubt the people that have been listening the whole time. I mean, obviously you've probably seen it, but if you've listened to this whole thing and you haven't seen it, there is no post-credit scene or mid-roll credit scene. There's no once the credits roll, that's it.
I'm pretty good now. Like after the movie ends or before I go in, I'll check to see. I'll be like, post movie credits and then not waste my time sitting around. It was a weird ending to it. Like I mean, you see the footprints, so it's like pretty clear that he killed her, and then he's getting chased, and it just kind of ends. You're like it's one of those that it ends and you have more questions than answers. But I'm glad DC did this because I think it's on pace to make like $1 billion. They're saying like it could do that.
That's what I heard.
I think they only made it for like 30 million, right? Like they made it super
something
cheap.
Like it was super cheap.
You have Will Smith's Gemini Man going out right now, and that's a bomb. So you have, more of these good, like unique ideas. I hope, to me personally, I hope this just exists by itself. I hope they don't try to put this in any universe or do anything with it. I just want it to exist as its own thing. So
yeah, so that leads me to, do I think that Joaquin Phoenix should do this again? I don't see this Joker fitting in. I mean, even with the DC universe that Warner Brothers hasn't done. I mean, obviously, I feel like this Joker shouldn't go anywhere near the movies we've already gotten.
Yeah.
But even if DC tried to, do other shit with other characters and then tried to, bring this in with it, I feel like this. I agree. I feel like this movie and Joaquin's performance should stay on its own. And the reason I say that is because you have Arthur Fleck. He becomes the Joker. He shoots people in the face. He has that attitude of the Joker. But like, do you really see this guy? Do you really see, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker from this movie? Do you really see him walking around with like a gun that he fires and it shoots, and a flag comes out that says bang?
No, yeah. Well, and the thing too, like, so if they try to tie this into any of the other future movies, they either do what you said and he's the Joker, and it's like, okay, well, now anything I thought about this movie of him not being the Joker or being in his head, all that's out the window and gone. Mm-hmm. But if they don't do that and they make him just kind of an inspiration for the Joker, well, now all the thoughts of like, oh, this stuff all actually happened is out the window. Like this is a movie that, in 10 years you go back and rewatch and you have a completely different perspective on it. But if they come out with these movies that kind of like make more sense of it, well, it's like you watch it with, after 10 years and somebody's like, oh, I bet it all happened in his head. You're like, no, actually it's not. He's actually the real Joker. But the Joker never had a name. Yeah, but this one does. And they actually go into his backstory. And I just feel like it would ruin this movie. Like, I like this being its own thing and having more questions than answers because I think it'll make it live longer. Like, this is a movie you'll show somebody in 15, 20 years, and they're going to have a whole different perspective on it.
And I also feel like this Joker doesn't fit anywhere.
No.
This Joker doesn't fit anywhere else. However, considering that this movie is on track to make $1 billion, I could totally see Warner Brothers showing up at Joaquin Phoenix's doorstep and just, saying, how much do you want? How much? All the monies. We'll give you all the monies.
So when Joaquin Phoenix doesn't do big movies, and somebody had asked him, I think it was Kevin Smith asked him, he's like, so you're doing this Joker movie. He's like, why? Like, you usually do like smaller things. Like, why did you do this? Why did you do this big thing? And he's like, I didn't think it was going to be a big thing. Like, I think he legit thought it'd be a movie he'd do. It'd, make $60 million or whatever, but it wouldn't be this like huge movement, number one movie, for the multiple weeks kind of thing.
You're probably right.
Because he's an odd dude. Like, he's kind of like...
He's a very odd dude. Did you ever see that documentary he did?
No, I want to. I haven't.
It's interesting. It's very interesting.
But yeah, I liked it. I mean, obviously, if you've listened all the way through here, you've probably seen it. But I definitely want to check it out again.
Yeah, me too.
There was a few too young of people at my showing, like under 10. And
under 10's a bit much. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I did bring all three of my kids. All three of my kids really wanted to see it, and I prefaced them beforehand. I was like, "Listen," I was like, "This isn't like a comic book movie." I was like, "You guys might find it
disturbing."
I mean, I said I was like, "You guys might find it very violent, but you also might find it kind of boring because it's a lot of like." Character acting and I was like, you guys might get bored, and they said no, we want to see it. And I was like, okay. I was like, I just wanted to give you that beforehand, but all three of them liked it, which I don't know what that says about them or the way I raised them. But
I mean, what have they been doing since? All of them been carrying pillows around, Shawn.
Yeah and Richard's listening to Frank Sinatra all the damn time.
You're going to go in his room and be like, hey, what are you doing? Just putting on makeup?
That's life.
Hey, what's that deadbolt for? Oh, damn it. But as we're tidying up, Richard, what do you have for some Richard's closing thoughts on Joker?
Yeah, at first I saw it and I was like, I really like this movie. And I don't know if that says something about me as a person. The fact that I related to and understood the journey that this character went on. But I mean, after like a day, I was like, well, that was the point. The point of the movie is to be like, hey, like you're seeing somebody's slow descent into madness. Do I think that everybody is capable of, or do I think that people, that there is, somebody that's going to watch this and, commit an act of violence. Not necessarily. And like I said, the people that do, I don't think the Joker is an example. The Joker the Joker was a person with a history of physical and psychological abuse that was being medicated and got abruptly taken off that medication, then had another series of psychological traumas. And I feel like all that had come before had led to what you get by the end of the movie. So do I think that anybody is, do I think that this is going to make somebody the Joker? I feel like just, I feel like there was a lot of things that, made Arthur the way he ended up being. Wasn't just one thing.
Not the whole one bad day away from me kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Exactly. But you know what? That's how Arthur sees it, which is why when he, tells Batman later on down the road, oh, you're just one bad day away from being me, because that's how he sees it. It's a victim thing. It's a victim mentality. Oh, you're one, all it takes is one bad day. Well, no, it really didn't take one bad day for you, but that's how you see it. So yeah, nobody is one bad day away from being the Joker.
Live. All right, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website, we're languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. Like us on Facebook, and remember, we are part of the Pod Bros Network.
Where they always send in the clowns.
All right, was there anything else before I close her out?
Nope. All
right, well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why.
Be a why not.
Why not? Unless that why not is going on the Murray Show.
Yes. Well, going on the Murray Show with the intention of shooting people in the face. Don't shoot people in the face. Public service announcement.